Please rise to pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Kramer, would you call the roll, please?
I will. Mr. Basil. Mrs. Bites.
Present.
Mr. Doty.
Present.
Mr. Kurtz.
Here.
Mr. Rathgab.
Here.
Mr. Speed. Mr. Delsky.
Here.
Mr. Wolf.
Here.
Mr. Martino.
Here. Under announcements, we just held an executive committee meeting to discuss some personnel issues. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mrs. Torsha to discuss the 2014-2015 school year.
And I don't have a whole lot to say this evening. I just wanted to tell everyone that our buildings are ready. They're clean, and we are awaiting the students to fill our halls starting Wednesday, September the 3rd. If you forgot, we do have that up on all of our school marquees, and I did put out a Connect Ed message to everyone just reminding them of the start date of school. Our fall sports have been up and practicing. Double sessions should be probably breaking by now, and they will be back to doing one-a-day. Scrimmages are starting for all of our different athletes, and the football team does kick off their first game. It's an away game this Friday at Cocalico. And lastly, I would like to just recognize St. Paul's United Church of Christ in Birdsboro. They just completed many needed repairs to the Birdsboro Elementary School. Their mission was called Mission Trip Birdsboro. Volunteers recently refurbished the benches outside the school, repaired a chain link fence, painted baseball field benches, the shed, and the bleachers. They also replaced the basketball nets and painted the backboards. It was a really, really nice thing that they did, and I just wanted to recognize them at our school board meeting tonight. So thank you to St. Paul's United Church and the Mission Trip Birdsboro. That's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Torsha. Are there any agenda edits? Good. Seeing none, the procedures for public participation are on the inside of the agenda cover. But for those who were not here at the last meeting, and I'll do this the next couple of meetings, I'll explain the device that was provided by Mr. Wolf. When someone from the public comes to the podium, please state your name and address. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Mr. Wolf at that time will start the device, which will be green. With 1 minute left, it'll turn to yellow to let you know that you have 1 minute, and will turn red at the end of 3 minutes. At that time, we'll ask the member of the public to be seated. Are there any presentations by the public on any of the agenda items? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion for items 8A to 8E?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? Okay.
That's not approving these.
Pardon me?
That's not approving the facility use, right?
That's
Okay.
that's
got it.
informational.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
No.
I wasn't sure where that fit in, sorry, so I was just clarifying.
Mrs. Kramer? Or you want me to do it?
Nope, I'm okay. I have a motion for 8A through 8E. This will be a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passed.
Motion approved. Item 9, presentations by board members. Is there any secretary correspondence? The secretary is not here tonight. Is there a BCIU board report?
There is. Martino, had my first meeting there as our new representatives at BCIU. A couple things that I think besides regular approvals. First, coming up on October 2nd, from from 8 to 12 in the morning. It's the 6th annual Keeping Kids Safe Symposium, which board members, administration, psychologists, nurses are all gotten of use. This focus this year is on prescription drugs and heroin use in our schools. So board members are more than welcome to attend that meeting, and I have a flyer here if anybody wants to take a peek at that. I'll pass it around. The second part is that also coming up down at the BCIU on September 30th from 7 in the evening to 8:45. They're going to host one of the sites. There's going to be a video conference on the committee right now at the state is going over this equitable education funding. There's a committee that's been set up to do that. So this video conference is going to bring together some all the educators from across the state, all the concerned people, some of our folks that are on the legislature to kind of give us an update on that. Basically, the idea behind this is that they want to keep this front and center. So that's kind of the purpose behind this. I'll also pass that around. And the other thing that I found out about was that I guess BCIU and CAIU, the Capital Area Intermediate Union, I guess they put a bid in with the state to roll out what they're calling this Mathematics Design Collaborative, MDC. I gave Mr. Sorcher a copy of that flyer tonight. Basically, BCIU will come in to kind of train the teachers on this approach. And the idea of this is that the idea behind this is to change kind of the way the mathematics is taught, and a more putting the kids into a team and a collaborative approach, how they solve mathematics, as opposed to the teacher going in and saying, here's what I'm teaching, repeat, and then test. This is more putting more responsibility on the student to learn and come up with a solution on how to get mathematics done. Now, I'm sure we can sit here and talk about whether that's good or bad. We'll probably should at some point, but you probably want to take a look at this program and take more in depth and figure out exactly what we're going to do. But this is the first I've heard of it, so probably need to fortunately take a peek at it as well as our administration and see what their thoughts are.
Thank you, Mr. Rathgeb. Is there Berks County, Berks Career and Technology report?
BCTC does not meet in July, so they will be meeting Wednesday evening at the Bowling campus, and I have a conflict, but Mr. Dempsey has agreed to go as the alternate, so we'll have a report next month.
Thank you, Mr. Dasky. The legislative report. The state legislature has been in recess for the summer. They're due back in September, and they'll be in session very briefly and then break for the fall election, so I don't expect too much to get accomplished. They have, however, started the commission studying fair funding for school districts has begun, and it's supposed to be a year-long process to try and change the funding formula for the 500 school districts in Pennsylvania. Are there any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to Building and Grounds. Is there a Building and Grounds report?
Facilities Committee did meet prior to this meeting this evening. One of the things we talked about was the facilities use, and the new administration is trying to determine if facilities usage fees have been charged according to the policy, and if not, how to bring that into alignment. So they're going to come back to us with the next facilities meeting with a list of people, of groups, and how they think they fit into the classification. And then the Facilities Committee can make a recommendation to the board for approval as to which groups fall into what category. So there's no confusion and everybody knows who's where. rather than, I think it's been a little bit more random, and to make sure that the policy is followed, the procedures followed, and the reserving of the building and that kind of thing is followed. So that's really what was discussed. Discussed a little bit about River Rock, and we talked about boilers that are installed in Birdsboro and should be up and running later this week. And the asset audit was also completed. They don't have a report, but Mr. Smith is hoping to be able to go over that report with the engineers before he leaves next month. So that's all I have.
The facilities usage until a new policy is or new procedures are formulated, we're just going to operate status quo?
For right now, I guess, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Dowski. Are there any other reports? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 11, financial approvals. Is there a motion to approve the fax option proposal for KM 601?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wolf.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rathgeb. Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Kramer?
This will be a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passed.
Item 12, personnel approvals. Is there a motion to approve the following retirements and resignations?
So moved.
Second.
Are we only doing 12A?
I'm sorry, that's a good question. Is the motion for just 12A or?
You're saying all personnel approvals, 12A through C?
Does that have to be an amended motion, Brian?
No, except a clarification. Mr. Doty, that's your understanding also with respect to your second, that it's motion, it's 12A through C?
Yeah, I second.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
understand.
I'm sorry.
Discussion? Questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Kramer?
This will be a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passed.
Programs, student data report. Who's giving that?
Just an update with regard to enrollment, and because I was asked, we do have. Good.
Well, that's enrollment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Where's? Direct me. Okay. Wasn't prepared for that. Sorry.
That's what I said. Who's doing it?
Right. You didn't brief me on that. Well. Okay. All right. Student data, just to show what our placements are in schools outside of the district. And I believe everybody has this attachment, correct? Right.
It's labeled transportation, right?
Correct.
Yeah, school transportation, yes. And are there any questions with regard to?
I saw one for Wilson, and I saw that we're transporting to Springford. Are those special?
They are.
Special
Yes,
okay.
yes. And the one is part of an agreement.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question. Immaculate is the largest school that we bus for. Would there be any conversation with them next year about maybe syncing up our calendars so we don't have to bus them this week? Because we're busing them this week and we're not busing our own kids. Would that be a worthwhile venture?
We certainly can discuss that. Certainly. Yeah, I would be more than happy to have a conversation with them. Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything else?
Was John Paul, is that the high school?
John Paul? It's a special learning school
Okay.
specifically for students with specific special needs.
Okay.
Yep.
Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah, a lot of our student population with Down syndrome or any other.
Like the Pope John Paul.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, wow, we got that far.
Oh,
This one's up in Wyomissing?
Right.
Sinking?
yes. Yeah. Anything else? Okay.
Item 14, policy. Mr. Kurtz, is there anything on policy?
Yes, the policy committee met on August 13th, and we had a very productive meeting. Coming forward next month will be on the agenda for approval the video audio monitoring on school bus policy. Additionally, some minor changes were made to the organization policy and the public participation in board meetings policy. The change in the public participation in board meetings policy was very minor, and it's just to make sure the policy reflects what we do. The old policy said that members of the public had to stand up next to their seats and state their name. Now we say the members of the public have to approach the podium and state their name and address. So there weren't any real substantial changes, just reflecting policy to reflect our actual practice. Additionally, the booster organization, we are very close to moving that forward. There are a few more things we're ironing out, but that'll be on the agenda, not in the next month, but probably the month after. If anybody else in the committee would like to speak up, feel free, but there'll be some stuff on the agenda for board approval or for board first reading, next month.
A little bit of trouble hearing him at the end there.
Just said that the first readings will be brought up at the next month's committee of the whole meeting.
So is that when we have the discussion on them? It's the first time I've been part of a policy change in the readings. Is that
Yes.
when we have more discussion about it?
Yes.
Well, the policy committee will discuss it in committee.
We did.
Right.
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted to relay some of that discussion, but I didn't know if it was appropriate tonight or when the policy comes up.
No, it's at the first
Right.
reading, and
Yeah, because nobody really knows what
Right.
we're proposing yet.
Till we put them out there.
Okay.
Correct.
I can wait till the next meeting.
Okay.
are there any other questions for Mr. Kurtz? Seeing none, we'll move on. Is there any transportation report?
Nope.
Old business? New business? Okay. Presentations by the public on any issue. Ms. Reno, hold on one second. Mr. Kordowski, oh, can they see that? I just wanted them to be able to see the lights.
Don't go to that one.
Yeah.
Laurel Reno, 367 Buckhead Lane. While I understand in your committee meetings, sometimes you might go off topic, something may come up that's not planned. However, I feel if something's on an agenda and planned and involves other interested parties, they should be invited to be able to come to those committee meetings to have a discussion in regards to the topic that you're talking about. I did listen to the hour-and-a-half-long policy committee. 49 minutes was spent discussing the organization booster policy that is in committee at the moment. Yet, there was nobody from the PTC, nobody from the Blazer Foundation, nobody from Music Boosters, and nobody from Sports Boosters at that meeting to answer any of the questions that came up. I feel if you're going to discuss something that does involve other interested parties, they have every right to be there if you truly want a working relationship that will benefit everybody in this district. Thank you.
Ms. Reno, before you walk away, go ahead.
Just so you know, this policy actually originated last year. It actually started last year, and the groups that you mentioned were invited, and they did have input and participation.
Correct.
Okay, so I mean,
But we're
it
still
kind of went silent. Okay,
Okay.
and then we brought it back, and we started talking about it again.
But not only that, every committee meeting is published, it's advertised, and it's posted on the website. I think we'd be remiss if we invited you to the meeting and not her or him or him. It's open to the public.
The Blazer Foundation, the Music Boosters, the Sports Boosters, PTC. Hey, we're going to be discussing something that might impact your group, organization. That's all you have to do. If they come, they come. If they don't come, they don't come.
We'll
But
talk
there were
about
things
that,
in
but
that-
I don't know that we're going to get into personalized invitations to committee meetings.
But that's okay, because I will be at the next policy meeting, and you will receive an email from me prior to that meeting, because I don't want to use up my 3 minutes of the policy meeting with my list of questions and issues that came up when I listened to the recording.
Mrs. Reno, just a quick question. You don't feel that we're purposely trying to exclude anybody, are you?
No, but I'm afraid of this policy that you're working on, that
and we will
you might be
comment.
trying to overstep maybe some bounds. These are outside organizations, and I'm not quite sure where the working relationship versus we're going to tell you how to do your job, if that line is going to
I
get
just want to
crossed.
make sure you weren't getting the impression that we didn't want people there for some reason, that it was something dark or covert, because we are publishing the meetings and we would like to see them.
Yes, and I was very glad the recording was on so I could listen to it.
Good, thank you.
I just say, I see both sides. Should we be avoiding special meeting? Probably not. But in this case, we're talking about groups that, if we're working together properly, support the district. And maybe they should have been there to make sure that any questions that you guys had.
It makes for better discussion to have all the parties there. I mean,
So,
I'm not against.
I understand that.
I'm not
maybe people
against a
didn't
couple
think much,
special invitations
but,
from periodically, even though it's not, a habit. I'm okay with it. I might make that effort next time myself.
Other presentations by the public? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.